I don't feel like anybody is saying what this is. I feel like we're in the Twilight Zone. I think this is bizarre.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Opinions Vary. That's Opinions with an A. Please like, share, and subscribe. And right now, we have another meltdown. So many meltdowns, so many freakouts, so little time of a CNN panel. Just every Trump cabinet pick is the worst thing that ever happened to the country. They're all unqualified. They're all crazy. It's all weird. With Scott Jennings, once again, being the only one with any rationale and common sense to try and hold the fort down and say, maybe we should give these people a chance. In this one, we're going to look at what they say about Pete Hegseth and Mike Huckabee, which are up for Secretary of Defense and Ambassador to Israel, respectively. Without any further ado, let's get into it.
A lot of people are surprised. Some people on Capitol Hill have no idea who he is, apparently. But one of the key things about Pete Hegseth, in addition to the fact that he is pretty close to Trump, one of the more notable things about him is that we know, based on reporting and what he said publicly, that he pressured Trump to pardon Eddie Gallagher, who was accused of war crimes. He pressured Trump privately and publicly. This is the kind of thing that I think makes him a bit of a controversial pick.
Yeah, I think, like many people, I was surprised at the pick. I was rooting for my guy, Mike Pompeo. That didn't happen. Okay.
I think the ship is
No, we don't want Mike Pompeo and that ilk anymore.
sailed.
Yeah, it did, unfortunately. But I do want to say a couple of things. I've talked to some senators on Capitol Hill this evening. I've talked to people who know Pete Hegseth well, and they all vouch for him. Universally, it is good to have civilian control of our military, and a lot of the things that Pete Hegseth has been known for is outreach to veterans, outreach to our servicemen and women. He knows the community incredibly well. He is one of them, and he's an outspoken proponent of getting us ready for the upcoming war with China. I think that's massively important. Look, there's no way to know exactly how he's going to play out in that role, but I have optimism.
I mean, one of the other things, look.
Look at your reaction. You see the reaction? Let's go back. Your reaction to the woman next to him. Let's go back to that.
Look, there's no way to know exactly how he's going to play out in that role, but I have optimism.
I mean,
Oh, look at her, right? Oh, God, how could you say something like this? What are you, crazy?
one of the other things, look, I hear what you're saying, and I think it's important, that part of it. Here's the other part. This is what Pete Hegseth has said fairly recently, literally just a couple days ago, about what he thinks should happen when it comes to the military.
I'm straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective, hasn't made us more lethal, has made fighting more complicated.
If we were to look
pretty retro.
Look at
there.
I have a daughter. I don't want my daughter fighting in a combat role. Well, first of all, women aren't eligible to be drafted. Number one, they can volunteer. And there are some women that have fought, and admirably, and been killed, wounded severely in combat roles. Has the study been done to see if it makes us more effective? Does it add complications like Pete Hegseth is saying? Isn't that something that should be discussed in this panel? To say maybe he has a point. It might not sound nice, but does he have a point? That's why these people never delve into something somebody says. They just say, "Oh my God, he said women should be in combat." He shouldn't be. He's sexist. No, maybe he has a valid point, or maybe he doesn't. But are you even going to discuss that on this roundtable? No, you're not. You're just going to go in and say, "Oh, it's a crazy statement, and it's politically incorrect, and it's a sexist statement, and he right there, he's disqualified." That's what we're dealing with. We don't even get like an inch below the surface anymore with these people because they're not journalists. It's fake. It's all fake. These people are actors. They're paid actors.
all of these appointments, including the White House staff, in a larger way. And that is, what Trump is doing is what he said, and that is to undo in an insidious way, really the basic philosophies, tenets, legislative priorities, executive actions of the American liberal experiment in government that goes back to the New Deal. This is an attempt to end what we have been living with since before the Second World War.
Good. Where are we right now, Carl Bernstein? By the way, Watergate was a long time ago. It was actually before I was born. So these people never go away. They never go away.
It is as ambitious a project as any president has ever proposed. It's deadly serious, and he means to enforce it not through democratic ideals and programs, but through purges, as we've seen today, through fiat, through fealty not to the Constitution, but fealty to the maximum leader.
These people are sick. Barack Obama, how many executive orders? Barack Obama, I've got a pen and a phone. That was Barack Obama. I've got a pen and I've got a phone. If Congress doesn't act, I will write executive orders. I've got a pen and a phone. They are so full of crap, these people, these ideologues, that they give you no context, and people that aren't hyper tuned into this stuff like I am, and like probably a lot of you are that watch this. And if you're not, I hope you learn something. And if you know something I don't, put it in the comments so I can learn something from you. But there's zero context to anything this fossil is saying. Anything. Trump's everything's fiat. Everything's this. It's insidious what he's doing. What is he doing? He's nominating people to fill his cabinet, which is his right as the executive. Now they have to go through the Senate. He's not doing any. Now, if they get appointed via recess appointment, guess who else set that precedent and really rammed it home? Barack Obama. They won't tell you that, though. Everything is Trump is bad. This is what brains that have snapped sound like. And they've all snapped because of Trump. Just know that.
We are in a new place, but it is a deadly serious place. And all of these appointments fit together in terms of undoing this legacy that goes back to Roosevelt. And a lot of the people involved in undoing it have said that over the years.
Where are we right now? Again, Carl Bernstein, how's everything going right now? The country's $35 trillion in debt. We're involved in proxy wars all over the world. We have a Department of Justice that is weaponized against political opponents. We have an FBI weaponized against a particular ideology or particular spectrum on the political spectrum, right? Where are we, Carl Bernstein? That's what you like. See, you guys, this is what you like. You want the government in control. You keep bringing up Roosevelt, right? Exactly. Oh, by the way, Roosevelt interned, put American citizens in internment camps during World War II. Nobody ever talks about that. Again, if you don't know about that, look it up. Look it up. They always go back to Roosevelt. Roosevelt was a tyrant. Okay? During World War II, he was a tyrant. I'll say it. You could disagree. I don't care.
The other part of it is that he has the ability to just appoint the people he wants to do these things, and that's literally what he is doing.
Yeah, that's called winning an election.
I hear what you're saying, but it's also, there's nothing secretive about what's happening here. He's just putting the people.
Not at all.
What are you talking about secretive? He's putting what if he was doing it secretively? What, that would be okay with you? No, you'd be calling him a under the radar dictator. He's like he's supposed to do. He's putting these people out to the public to see that these are the people I'm going to have in my administration. They have to be they're nominated. They have to go through the process in the Senate or appointed via recess appointment. What are you even talking about, Abby Phillips?
Does anyone have confidence in the current leadership of the Pentagon and the way the defense situation has been operating for the last several years? I mean, from the Afghanistan pullout, which was an extreme debacle for which no one was held accountable. We've had spy balloons flying over the United States. We built a $300 million pier as a public relations stunt, which wound up killing an American service member. I'd say I've had just about enough of the so-called insiders running the Defense Department. I think we ought to give Pete Hegseth a chance because he's got two
insiders.
All the criticism of him is that he's not the expected Washington pick. And
yeah, it is about insiders, Carl Bernstein. It's all the people you want. You want to keep the status quo. You want the machine to just keep humming along and stealing from the rest of us. That's what you want. It won't affect you, Carl Bernstein.
I'm just saying to you that the American people just voted against the expected Washington pick. So he's
Bingo.
got 20 years in service, Afghanistan, Iraq, 2 Bronze Stars, Princeton, Harvard. Yeah, he's on TV, but so are the rest of us.
Yeah, if that was a Democrat with that resume, that military resume, these people would be glowing and screaming from the rooftops. Oh, finally, it's somebody that served in combat who's going to run the DOD. Finally, the Department of Defense can be run by somebody boots on the ground. They'd be all rah-rah. They'd be all patent all of a sudden if this was a Democrat making this pick. As I said before, these people are full of crap.
By the way, that list you just gave is really interesting because you highlighted a bunch of things that the civilian leadership of the country decided on. In the military, Their job was just to execute. They executed.
How did it go?
She's blaming the military. Abby Phillips. Oh, so it was the military members' fault that the direction they got was god awful, and the orders they received sucked. It was their fault. The civilian leadership appointed by Joe Biden and everybody else, it was just great. They put everything out there. The military, the boots on the ground, screwed it up. You're just disgusting.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
How did it go?
In terms of the decision making, you're assigning decision making responsibility to the military over things that civilians are responsible for.
So you make a good point. The civilian leadership made decisions, and then the people they put in charge of the Pentagon carried it out, and it was all pretty much a disaster. So why don't we now?
She was making it sound like, to me, that the boots on the ground were the problem. No, the civilians who told the generals, and then the generals gave bad orders to the people on the ground. They set them up for failure. That's what happened. And who was that? Lloyd Austin. Lloyd, AWOL Austin. That's who. We have somebody who's gone for a couple of weeks. Nobody knows what the hell he is. Imagine if that was Trump's. If Pete Hegseth does end up getting the appointment and he goes missing for a week and nobody knows where he is while we're in the middle of a war. I wonder what's going to happen at a CNN Roundtable if that happens. Meanwhile, Lloyd Austin's gone. Nobody knows where the hell the guy is. Apparently, he wasn't feeling well. And it was okay. Biden was still on top of it. We were fine. Oh, my God. You can't make this stuff up. These people are shameless. They're shameless hacks.
We have a new president who I think got elected in part because of some of those disasters, and he's going to put in some of the non-insiders in charge of not just this agency, but a bunch of them. Now, look, they've got to perform. They've got to perform. I mean, we got 53 U.S. senators that are Republicans, and Pete Hegseth, he's an American hero. The man won 2 Bronze Stars for his service, and he's been a champion for veterans. He's going to have to go up there just like everybody else and prove his knowledge of how to do this job. He's not immune from that, but we ought to give this man a chance, in my opinion.
I want to talk a little bit about the Mike Huckabee of it all, because that's another big role that Trump announced today. One of the interesting things about Huckabee is that he is quite outspoken about his views on Israel and on the Palestinian people. I just want to play a little bit about what he's said over the years.
Basically, there really is no such thing as, and I have to be careful saying this because people will really get upset, there's really no such thing as a Palestinian. There's not.
My feeling personally, and I'm speaking only as a person, I think Israel would only be acting on the property it already owns. I think Israel has title deed to Judea and Samaria. There are certain words I refuse to use. There is no such thing as a West Bank. It's Judea and Samaria. There's no such thing as a settlement. They're communities, they're neighborhoods, they're cities. There's no such thing as an occupation.
No question. I mean, that is going to be a very problematic and an already pretty combustible situation.
So it's going to be Mike Huckabee's fault that we're in that's problematic and we're in a combustible situation caused by Joe Biden. Right. Once again, I've said it before. They caused the problem. You try to solve the problem. Now you're the problem. Okay? It's always the same. It's always the same. Please start to realize this, everybody. It's the same playbook over and over and over again.
In the Middle East.
Yes, I imagine that Netanyahu is quite pleased with this pick.
Good. I hope he is.
And I think that this pick kind of confirms many people's fear about what a Trump administration would bring for hopes of peace in that region. And
because we're doing such a great job now getting peace in the region. There was peace in the region when Trump, this is amazing. When Trump was president, there was peace in the region. More peaceful than we've seen in our lifetimes. When Trump was president, those 4 years, the Middle East was under control. Everybody was getting along. There was the Abraham Accords. Everybody was talking to each other. Nobody was fighting. It was as peaceful as it's ever been. But now she's talking about what's going to happen in the Trump administration. Again, they caused the problem. Trump's going to try to solve the problem. Trump's the problem.
And for hopes that there might be a ceasefire, and those who were afraid that what we're seeing is part of a larger attempt to take the land that is already being disputed. So I imagine, there are certain people who are very happy with that pick.
I think that, Carl, you kind of touched on this. When I think about just the day and we look at the appointments or those who allegedly might be up for appointments, I think that he is making good on all of his promises. One thing about Donald Trump that I find very interesting.
Isn't that what he's supposed to do? That's what he was elected for. Over half the country voted for that. Sorry. Too bad, so sad.
And Scott, you may disagree, which is fine. I don't necessarily know if acumen is top of mind when picking these people. And what I mean by that is I believe, and I have a random story, but very true, I believe he more so cares about what people look like and sound like. Enter our man who is a Fox News host who is now Secretary of Defense. Or I don't understand that. I don't.
It's based on what? Based on what are you saying that? What? Because Pete Hegseth is a big, strong guy and a soldier. That's why Trump picked him? No, that's not why I picked him. He picked him because he thinks he's going to do a good job.
Oh, one second.
Yeah,
One
I
second.
think you're making
She's speaking.
And for him, it's most important for it to be showman, and it's also loyalty, and it's what you need to say, and you need to be on board.
Right. And the problem with that is, what's the problem? What's the problem with hiring people to serve in your cabinet who are going to be loyal and on board? What's the problem? You realize what an idiot you sound like? No, you don't.
He's making good on all of his promises. I don't feel like anybody is saying what this is. I feel like we're in the twilight zone. I think this is bizarre.
Yeah, no, we've been in the twilight zone the last 4 years, actually. That's what. Look at Biden's appointments, okay? That's the twilight zone. That is the twilight zone. Everything this administration has championed is the twilight zone. I've been saying it before I started on YouTube. All of my Instagram stories in the past. Today's episode of the Twilight Zone, and I would post something that's going on, some new crazy thing that the Biden administration put out, or one of his appointments was doing. That was literally what I was doing. This is projection. We are in the Twilight Zone right now. We're about to come out of it, thank God.
For his mustache.
Which person doesn't have acumen?
I don't believe that your Fox News host is going to be the person that you just as we read a moment ago. Someone said, "Wow, this is the person."
Does his military record not mean anything to you? Does his bronze?
No, Scott, it doesn't mean anything to her. It doesn't mean a thing to her, and we're going to see that right now when next comes out of her mouth.
There are many people with military records.
Harvard degrees.
Let me tell you, I've done a lot of things. You want to put me in I've been in a couple of school fights. I can do something too if you want that to be.
You know what? You're disgusting. You just compared schoolyard fights to a man who served 20 years in the military, has received Bronze Stars in combat. You're just disgusting. You people, you need to be sent to the dustbin. And CNN is on its way to the dustbin. The only way CNN is going to survive, I think, is they take Scott Jennings and give him a primetime show. People from our side with logic, not even our side, normal people would actually watch the show. Okay? The only reason why I do these things is because the entertainment is there because of how crazy these people are. And people need to see this. This is what we're dealing with. So, yeah, you need to be sent to the dustbin and just out because you're disgusting. What you just said is disgusting. You have zero respect. You're just an ideologue, and that's it.
The case? If you're saying
you said he doesn't have acumen.
I don't believe that he does. I don't believe that anyone, and if you also look at Donald Trump, I also don't think that he has acumen. But what we have here today is the president of the United States. That we have what America gets, what America deserves.
Damn right. And we're going to get our country back because that's what we deserve. That's right. And you know what? All of you fools like her, you could thank us who voted for this. You won't. I don't want your thanks. I just want our country back. That's what I want. That's what I'm sure you want too. And even if you didn't vote for Trump, why don't you just take a deep breath like I did after 2020 and just live your life, do the best you can for you and your family, and then if it doesn't work out the way you want, guess what? You get to go vote again next time. You see how this works? So all the people crying, and this is the end of the world, and we're in the twilight zone's coming now, and all these picks are the worst thing ever, and they're not qualified, and they're going to upend our democracy, which we're not. Take a deep breath, grow up, okay? Stay out of the way, and let it happen. And if it doesn't happen the way we all say and we all think it will, you get to vote again. You get to vote again. And life will go on. I'm going to leave it there. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment below. Continue to follow me at Opinions Vary.